Okay, there we go. All right. And yeah, with recording, all kinds of interesting things are happening. I won't get into everything, but updates. Oh, you know what I should do? I should do one thing before I do that. I should make sure that I have an agenda. One of the things that I don't have in front of me. So let's go here. It's another wonderful thing about Zoom is that, there we go, is that you've always got all of the things that you want. So, okay, doing some updates. Good morning, everybody, and some updates just to let you know what's happening with our new lifestyle. CERT, I was talking with Captain John Ignatzik the other day. He was looking for advice on some equipment, and it looks like they're going to be attempting, or they're going to do CERT online. They're going to do possibly Zoom sessions and set it up so they can view everybody, but get back to doing actual CERT classes. At least I think that's the goal, because they can't do them in person. So that's one thing that's happening. Number two, talk to Aram Sahakian and Carol Park. They have an RFP out, and based on the responses, they expect that by March, they will have it in line. They'll be doing their Ryland online. Along with that, they'll be looking towards how the neighborhood council liaisons can work on recruiting people for those sessions. So that's an upcoming. Okay, very good. Those of you who would still, or if you've got friends who are still looking at ham classes and ham licenses, I know that we're doing the ham licensing, the tests online, and as I recall, Norm Goodkin is doing the classes online. So if anybody wants ham radio licenses, check out Norm Goodkin, K6, I'll remember his call. But if you just put in Goodkin ham class into Google, it will come up. And apparently he's got his next class set for October. I don't know if there's any room left, but there probably is. So people can still get their ham licenses.
How do you spell that, Leonard?
Goodkin with a K, Goodkin, Goodkin. First name Norm, and I want to say K6AIX, but just striking me right now.
You can also find him through the PAPA system at papasys.com.
Yeah. Okay.
I just posted it to chat link.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
In a minute, I'll get to more important, but just as an aside, those of you neighborhood council folks who haven't received it, you might want to look at it. The Tuesday City Council agenda, I haven't seen them move this fast in a lot of years. The neighborhood council stakeholder definition has been there for quite a while, but the voting age has been there a little less. And the online neighborhood council, the mail-in neighborhood council elections went through so fast it'd make your head spin. But anybody interested can let their board members and other neighborhood council members know that it's on Tuesday's agenda if they want to make any comments. One thing we're going to be...
Len, sorry, I apologize, but they may or may not be able to make comments. Well, yes, they can make online comments, but
Yeah.
they may not be allowed to do it. They may not open a public hearing because
Yeah.
they've already held it.
Yeah, you already had a chance to speak. Yeah, with the vast notice they gave of the mail-in election, they can say that you've already had the opportunity to talk at committee, and therefore they're not going to let you talk there. You're right. Thank you, Glenn.
Is this something that we plan to talk about today? Because it doesn't seem to be quite.
No, I just wanted to put it out as a general thing.
Okay, because I think it's not necessarily a good idea. But I was going to ask
Um,
how
yeah,
many people here participated in the QSO Today meeting online?
Today's meeting, I did
No,
not.
QSO Today was a
Wait,
weekend meeting.
the ham convention.
Yeah, I mean, they figured out,
Yeah.
let everybody know, they had like 21,000 people sign up.
Wow.
They had nearly that many people participate online.
Yeah.
And it was actually very well organized with only one or two minor glitches.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that we should be looking into how they did it, because they obviously did all the technical stuff wonderfully well.
Yeah, they put on a full ham convention online.
And by the way, you can still go online and watch those talks.
Watch the video.
I watched the one on Arduino and on backpacker style antennas and a couple or three others. So
For those of you who don't know, Arduinos are things that attach to miniature computers, generally Raspberry Pis, and they actuate different functions based on.
they are miniature computers, and they will. What's nice about them is that you can hook them up and get them to drive other items.
Yes.
So it's just perfect for this sort of stuff that we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
On that one.
As I put out, one of our members, Ann Dorsey, sent me an email with an idea with regards to underserved communities, and it sparked my interest, and I started talking to some people at the city, because it's number one, it's a good thing to aid people in those areas which will probably be the most affected by disasters, because they will be underprepared or unprepared, period. The other is that it will benefit the entire city. My belief is that a major earthquake, either on the, I guess it's the Newport Fault that crosses through Inglewood Newport Fault through downtown, or the San Andreas, could destroy up to 10% of the residential housing in the city of Los Angeles, which means about 400,000 people on the streets. And every house that we can make better prepared, the better off everybody is. So I have reached out to some people at the city, and hopefully I'll be getting to meet some people soon online, getting an idea for outreach, how we can bring people from those communities on board, and what we can do to help them get ready. And looking at what's going on, my thought is that we can kind of cross-pollinate, because if we can reach out, we can promote Ryland, we can promote CERT, and if necessary, we can promote ham radio. But the major things that we could promote would be our EP group, CERT, which would get people prepared, and Ryland, which also helps in preparation. So something we're going to be looking forward to in the next couple of meetings, and trying to get some people here to speak on that. Our speaker today, Nicky with her topic. This will dovetail into preparedness, and I think based on what I've seen, it will also give us some clues with regards to getting people in other areas motivated and of the right mindset, where they will be able to say, yes, we can, and they will start to working on preparation. So, let me see. Okay, anybody else that we need help with here? I think we've got, okay, very good. Very good. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Nikki. She
Hey,
is,
hey, Len, can you? There's background static and noise coming through. Can you check the muting, please?
okay, hang on, let me
Sounds like
see. It's possible that, what am I? No? Okay. Am I staticky to you here, or is it just general?
No, you sound good.
It's gone now. Oh, no, there it is. Sounds like somebody's got a ham radio going in the background or something.
Either that or a barnyard full of chickens.
Yep. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute everybody. Bingo. And then I'm going to let Nikki unmute herself, which she can do. Can you do that?
Len, would you mind if I made one announcement real quick? This is John.
Hang on. Okay, there you go. You're unmuted, Nikki. That should cut down. Yep, you're on. That should cut down on.
All right.
Hang on. That'll cut down on any background noise. I had a very interesting conversation on Zoom with Nikki the other day, and I think that you will enjoy listening to her and seeing what she has to say on this subject and how it dovetails with emergency preparedness. She has talked all over the world from what I've been able to see, various groups, various motivational things. It appears that she's a backpacker and also a range master for any of you who might want to learn about firearms. But today we're not going to talk about that. Her subject today is situational awareness and how it might help ready you in the area of emergency preparedness. So Nikki, you've got screen sharing, and here we go.
Len, that background noise is back.
Let me see something. I'm going to turn off my audio for a second. Tell me if it goes away. Did it go away? No, I hear a slight sound there. I'm not sure what it is,
Yeah, it's still there.
but that's okay. Once Nikki starts talking, you won't hear it. There
All
you
right.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you guys can hear me?
Yes.
That sounds good.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is staying safe and sane these days. Thank you so much for having me this morning. And also thanks to Leonard and Dave. Thank you. I realized conversation was a little bit different way back when I started talking about situational awareness a couple of decades ago, as a matter of fact, about staying prepared and, just overall personal safety. And, as we already know, life is really unpredictable. Sometimes we enjoy the fruit of our harvest, and some other times we really are seeking answers. Like currently, I've never seen such intense, race for vaccine has never been so important for humanity. And hold on a minute. Let me see if I can. Hang tight, because I cannot see my screen. I was able to put together, just so you know, something from other shot.
Nikki, your audio is losing.
As I,
Nikki, you're freezing up. Your internet connection may not be so good.
Nikki, can you hear us?
Okay.
Okay.
was I frozen a little bit?
Yes, you were freezing.
All right. So can you guys hear me back, right?
Yes.
Now you're there. Why don't you go back a couple of slides?
A couple slides more?
No, go back a few. Yeah, go back. Can you back up to about your number 2 slide?
Yes, sir.
There we go.
I don't think it's going to work on this. All right. So we are recognizing that, you know, we're all in this together, all affected from facing financial, emotional, as Leonard was saying, right? The mindset, as well as operational challenges brought on by this, you know, uninvited virus. So I want to also point out that it has massively affected multidimension. You know, I held for the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks now, discussion roundtable around the globe, talking about how COVID impacting sustainability. So, you know, at this time, I also want to point out that it does affect health. This is health crisis, economy, job security, food security, and yes, sustainability. And no one was ready for this, right? There's no blueprint to follow this. So what I'm saying here, that like anything else in life, we, you know, life is like really 10% what happened to you and 90% how we respond, react. We must take control what we can through this few things actually, you know, prevention, preparedness. We've been doing that, just that, right? Emergency preparedness, disaster preparedness, forward thinking, and also sustainability. You know, unfortunately, when we are in crisis, you'll see a world in a different way. You know, when you recall from this kind of type of crisis, you know, you just being stuck in this madness, setbacks, disruption we have no control of. So we got to step out of our comfort zone and start thinking what's really meaning. What is the meaning of life? And it boils down to what we have in life is our personal safety, our loved ones, our family, you know, protection to our lives, property, home, business, because that's what we live for. So when it comes to situational awareness in the context of civil unrest, civil disorder, which typically caused by a variety of things, right? Social, political, economic, God knows what else these days. The natural, social, cultural, these are among the stressors, the drivers. And I don't want to get into politics in this, but violent crime is growing in proportion to shrinking police force, as we already are aware of that, force resources. And that we need to be truly effective. And our safety is under serious threat like never before. And, you know, I want to mention to you, why is my PowerPoint, hang on a minute, not moving.
It's there.
With
Nikki, you're freezing again. Can't hear you.
I remember I had a 3-day on-site training with National Guard. I was grateful to be invited by the organizer for emergency preparedness back in 2016 at Del Valle Training Center. On the last day, on the 3rd day, they had a training called Riot Mass Control. I was super grateful to be part of that training. In addition, of course, I mean, throughout my training over 2 decades in this kind of thing with both law enforcement and especially military operators on the range, off the range. I want to say this out because there are some, you know, issues in this area that I want to just share with you guys my perspective in this. If you're confronted by law enforcement, don't resist. Obey their instructions, right? Show them your hands, you know, and if they ask you scream or not scream, hold up your hands in the air. You do just that. They ask you to lay down, guess what? Just do that. Because cops are trained in all these situations. And many times, if I may, when you resist, this is when things get escalated real fast. So if you are in a protest and you're being arrested by law enforcement, I don't know if you heard about this point before, you have the right to ask them to see if you can call your lawyer. So another thing during that training with National Guard for riot control was what they use, tools and hardware. They use tear gas, pepper spray, I remember, rubber bullets, electric tasers. Also, rubber bullets are not lethal. They are made of these rubber-coated projectiles, and they can be fired either by a couple things, by standard firearms, yes, or can be fired through dedicated riot guns, they call it. Okay, so what we have today is certainly a very complex situation which requires collective efforts from everybody, no doubt. And like I said, I mean, I don't want to get into politics in this because I do suck in politics. I don't even want to bother to go there. I want to stick with solutions. So learn some basic life-saving skills to protect yourselves, your family, your loved ones, also your community. And, you know, when I was invited to speak about situational awareness, I say, hey, situational awareness is really a perishable skill. Why is perishable skill? It's very obvious. You must apply and use this and fit this to your mind, you know, to your brain system, so you can develop what we call muscle memory. It is a key factor in daily survival. Oftentimes, yes, it may be overlooked. You know, I want to say this too. It is primordial weapon, if you may, that may save lives, yours and ours, your loved ones, right? You know, we're born with this innate power in us. So I want to take you guys to what I'm talking about as far as situational awareness, because there's a couple things I think is all right. So I'm realizing that my PowerPoint is not really working, but hang with me, okay? Situational awareness may be the best, you know, defense skill that you may have, that you may need to stay alive in your daily survival. What is it? It is the ability to identify, to process, to comprehend the critical elements of this information, what is happening in your environment. You know, it is knowing what is going on around you. So it is the single most important self-defense skill. I always say that, you know, using essays in your daily life is like having a cool Corvette parked in the garage, sitting pretty, but never take it out for a ride, or motorcycle, that's big, you know. But yeah, you gotta use it every day. It's perishable skill. It's something you already have. It's your gut feeling, intuition, part of your intuition. Turn that radar on whenever you are in transitional space or in a controlled space. We're gonna talk about that a little bit. Using mindset as the as the most important safety tool to carry at all times, maybe increasing your awareness and allows you to see potential threats, right? With today's environment, you need this more than ever. All right, so I talk a lot about mindset. And by definition, Webster defines mindset: to counter or actively oppose, to fight back. And combative mindset is a course of action based on a previous decision. Like a set path based on reason and your intellect, right? But here's my caveat to essay. Just being aware of your environment, of your element, wherever you are, especially transitional space, may not going to stop that situation, may not going to stop a threat, but it will give you an advantage and that edge over people who are not aware. Would you agree with me on that?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You guys are being muted, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you a very quick video, if I may. Is that okay? It's only 2 minutes. Leonard, would that be okay?
Go ahead.
Everyone can please mute themselves who's not talking.
It's not showing?
Yes. I see something that says video.
But there's no audio.
Seriously?
Yeah.
All right, let's just move on.
There may be an option to click share computer sound when you go into the share screen. That's how you get the audio to come through.
Yes.
So stop sharing and then reshare again. And when it offers on the lower left, there's share sound and share your screen.
Is this for me, what you just said, or for Leonard?
Yes, no, for you.
That's for you.
Okay, let me stop and share again.
Correct. And then you'll see the controls, the lower left.
Lower left. Did you find them? No, I can't do that for her.
That's okay. It's basically a video of situational awareness and overview using, application of it. And it's a 2-minute video. If you wish, I can send you first. Yeah.
Your sound is frozen again.
Okay, you're freezing
Yeah,
up.
okay. So I'm so sorry, you guys. There's technical glitches around here and everything.
So if you want to, email it to me and I'll put it up.
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and email it to you guys and everything. All right. So I want to point out a couple of perspectives within this context of situational awareness that 3 things: prevention and avoidance. Prevention avoidance is allowing ourselves for that window of opportunity to safely prepare and prevent ourselves, from threatening conflict. We recommend to always wear your radar on, as I said, and with that condition yellow, which I'll cover it a little bit, at all times. So I recommend to do a plan A, which is avoid, create that distance. Distance, however, is your best friend in any given circumstances. And the next thing that I want to point out really quickly here, a controlled versus what I said earlier, transitional space. You got to learn the differences, what the spaces are, and what to do to prevent and avoid yourself from any kind of potential danger. And yes, most attacks occur in what is called transitional spaces. These places where you are transitioning from point A, right, to point B. For example, like you get out of your house and then you go get coffee or go to grocery store. In between that distance is your transitional space. Does that make sense? Examples will be parking lots, convenience stores, right? Elevators, gas stations, bus, train stations. So when you are in these transitional spaces, as many of us regularly have before COVID, and now, you guys are still going out in the space, right, during COVID, you need to still be aware of these potential threats in order to respond properly and reduce the risk. These are just a few things that I can share with you, the examples. So many attackers and crimes, potential situations like that do occur during your transitional space. So in such space, many criminals will take their chances. We know that, as we have been seeing with the violent rioters, looters. It get complex, by the way, destroying businesses, homes, in fact, right? Now, many places have CCTVs on their premises. Of course, as we already know, these devices surveillance equipments don't and will not, again, will not stop the crime itself. But what it does, it records what happened, documentation kind of type, right? It serves like an aftermath documentation, I call it, an aftermath. So it's good and bad, right? We can't depend on that. But I realized and I noticed that most advanced criminals and organized groups, crime groups, would take CCTV a little bit serious because they should, right? In some other countries, I want to share this with you guys, namely Japan. For a long, long time, elevators that in that country do not have CCTVs. So what it means that crimes like rapes occurred, many of them in elevators. We call this privacy box elevators in between floors. In India, in buses. I mean, we can go on and on and on giving examples on how this crime can take place. I have so many examples. It goes back to how we should apply our condition yellow, once again, in our situational awareness radar. Every time when we're outside, controlled, especially in our transitional space. So the next one is, in context of situational awareness, is what I call escalate versus de-escalate. How to use it, when to use it, apply this for survival. When do we need to use this? When does it become necessary to use escalate or even de-escalate force? When there is a potential possible attacker, most time that attacker, your threat, would determine the course of action. So, for example, you're walking down the street and someone trying to approach you. At this time, you don't know. You should be in the, you should be in condition yellow, right? Already. And you push it to the next level. We call it orange condition. You collect and diagnose more information about this, this environment, this element, this individual. How so? Well, how about body language? How about facial expression? How about hands? Yes, hands. What does he or she have in their hands? Because hands are super important, right? What is the motive to approach you even closer of this individual? Does he or she have the intent to rob you, intent to harm you, right? So firstly, you respond by making sure you have what we call eye contact. So it's super important, right? Have that eye contact with him or with her. Be vocal and loud and firm. Put your hands forward, like say something. Be vocal. Hey man, can I help you? What can I do for you? What is going on? Hey, what do you need? Yeah. Anything I can help you with? Right? Be neutral, not aggression. So I'll be right back. Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Len, while Nikki's away, will these PowerPoint shots be available later to view? Or is there a website that we can actually have like a checklist sort of thing like this?
I will.
Yes, I do have. I'm so sorry I had to step away. My husband was knocking on my window trying to get in the house. I'm so sorry, guys. He went to, anyway. All right, yeah. So,
life happens.
He went for a motorcycle ride this morning, and I didn't know he was going to come home a little bit early. So anyway, yeah, be neutral. Oh, I'm sorry. What was you saying about a checklist?
No, that's okay, Nikki. After the presentation, we can talk. But yes, be neutral and non-aggressive is where you were.
Yes, yes, yes. Right. So I don't know if you guys see that. So, with the questions like, hey, what can I do for you? What's going on? Anything I can help you with? I mean, that's always a neutral thing, right? Anything I can help you with, right? If you're engaging and looking at them on the face, they will make a decision whether or not what they do next. Say if they want to rob you or hurt you, right? If they say, hey, I want your wallet, what do? Is it worth of life and death or living for, right? Then you probably want to give that up. I mean, you might have a different opinion on this, but give it up, whatever it is. That might de-escalate this situation. But, I want to point this out too. There's no guarantee. I mean, I've got friends and I've known friends in this horrible, horrible situation before and still got hurt after handing everything they asked, end up in hospitals and everything like this. But there's no guarantee. So if you decide not to want to cooperate with this, then you can keep calm and stay in distance. And perhaps, putting your hands up and keep your distance is always a great thing to do. So just say, hey man, I don't want any problems. Just go right out. If they decide to get louder, you get louder. And as soon as they make the physical contact with you, some of you, probably thinking, oh my gosh, this is a time. Yeah, you can do whatever it takes to defend yourself. You bet. That's another thing that I want to point out. Knowing situational awareness is one thing. There's a caveat that I already shared with you, my 3 cents. But it's your willingness to defend yourself when you're in that position, correct? So simple assault is a pre-indicator of serious assault. I mean, things can get hairy really quickly. Like I said, I mean, the color code of mental awareness can get from, there's levels of color code of mental awareness, and I'll share that with you in a second here. It can jump from white or yellow straight to red or black. It's your life. You got to defend it. People can go from white condition to red because they're caught in element of surprise, we call it, and didn't realize they're already in red. And with your training, hopefully you can get through this. And of course, we all have that adrenaline dump at that point, right? So plan A is creating distance avoidance. You want to always be in condition yellow radar at all times. It extends out depending on the terrain of your space, of your environment, obviously, wherever you're in. So, all right, I'm gonna share you this. Let's see. You guys still seeing my screen?
Yes.
All right.
There goes your audio again. Nicky, your audio is frozen.
Okay, write down on your on the chat box that question for you guys. When you hear situational awareness, those words, what comes to your mind? A lot of, just so you know, a lot of you are going to say exits, but why? I want to hear more than just exits. Can you share with me your answers?
Hi, my name is John, and I work for the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I just want to say when I'm driving, I'm always looking at my rearview mirror, the side mirrors. And I know this sounds kind of obvious, but if a high-speed car chase comes running by you, or some kid jumps out in the street, you got to be aware of what's going on, not just to protect yourself, but to make sure everyone's safe, because you're driving a 2,000-pound bomb or something that's heavier. So driving is, I think, one of the really important ways too to make yourself aware.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm going to share with you how you can practice this kind of things. And great point, by the way. I'm sorry, your name was John?
Yes.
Yeah. Especially in LA traffic, when we're all stuck and doing nothing most of the time. I don't know about these days now, but yeah, we can practice that. And I'm going to go over briefly with you in that too, how we can practice some of this situational awareness while we're out in the open space as well. And you can share this with your family members and loved ones. It's really simple and something that we all can, definitely start doing if we haven't done so. All right, so on the screen, as you can see, there's levels of color codes, right? The concept of color codes, first of all, of this awareness, situational awareness, it was originally put forth by the late Colonel. His name is Jeff Cooper, great guy, Marine Corps. Each color code corresponds to the amount of danger, that you are being exposed to at a given time. So this refers to your current state of mind at a given time. And this is important. And willingness, your willingness to take action, regardless of real or imagined threats, right? So color code awareness, white, unaware, unprepared. Quick example, you're at home, getting ready to go to sleep. So everything locked up, alarm is on, everything else is ready. Some of you probably sleep with your guns or something. I mean, is ready, right? Dogs is inside. Everything looking safe at your home, at your safe space, right? Yellow, relax, alertness. You stay vigilant. This is your radar. You have to use your yellow conditioned radar at all times, especially when you step out. You get up in the morning and you go downstairs, you go around, make your coffee, check the dog, feed the dog. Guess what? Wear your yellow condition, even so. Even before you step out of your house, I think it doesn't hurt if you wear that yellow condition, right? In case you're looking out the window, guess what? Why is the bushes moving? Wait, what? Who is that? What is that car doing in front of my front yard? Right? So something to consider about. Orange is a possible threat. Focus, alertness. So that bush that's moving, now you heighten your awareness level to orange. I'm gonna collect and diagnose the information. Maybe it's a cat. Maybe it's really somebody is hiding behind that bush. We don't know. You don't know. That's your orange level. Then, if in fact it is somebody shady, and that car that's parked in front of your front yard has been there overnight, tinted window, it looks like somebody's in there. Oh my gosh, you're in the red zone now. The threat is real. You gotta ready to be, to act on this. The next one is black. Your mental, all of these things started triggered. Now is put everything into action. Are you willing to take action? What are you gonna do, right? Yeah, some of you would say call 911. Great idea, right? So to survive means to be able to adapt the capacity to change, to be able to navigate calmly through these emotions and panic state of mind, working through this constructive actions, set of actions, it takes training. We all know that. It takes a lot of training. It takes continuous training. It involves what I call survival mindset. So how many of you heard the saying you are half as good in disaster or emergency situation as you are in a, let's say, perfect day in training? I'm sure a lot of you have heard that, right? Being in an emergency community, emergency preparedness community, right? So meaning regardless of our years of perfect training, we're bound to have that human elements, human condition, human emotion during disaster situations, right? So repetition and training develops memory. Memory fosters confidence, decisiveness, and speed for making that split-second decision in a life-threatening, stressful situation. So how many of you, I want to go back, how many of you said they are, when you hear the word situational awareness, you think immediately exits? So going back to knowing your exits, I also want to add on having your backup emergency alternative routes, you know, knowing your alternative back roads as well. If you were to drive like John, right? What is your, you know, you cannot, let's say something's happened on that freeway. How can you exit from that? Right, something to think about. So it is a skill, perishable skill, right? Awareness is just halfway the battle. Unfortunately, it is halfway the battle. Knowing it is halfway the battle. Is the willingness to take action and using your body as a weapon system. All right, so why is this learning situational awareness the most important skills that you can learn for self-defense? I say because your brain, I'm sorry?
Because they can save your life.
Right. Your brain is a super calculator, right? Capable of looking at different things, analyzing multiple scenarios, multiple reaction, hypotheticals, using all of these elements, using all of this environment around you. You just need to go through this mental cues, mental science to analyze situation or a problem, right? I also want to point out this next context, concept, sorry about that, of what we call OODA loop.
Your sound is breaking up, Nikki.
Who's heard of OODA loop before?
No.
Another concept, great concept.
Yes.
It's a
It's
tactical
been-
survival concept adopted by another military pilot, U.S. Air Force, named by the name of John Boyd, who came up with this strategic tool. You know, the concept is really simple. Trying to get inside your threats decision cycle, and you're trying to gain that advantage. It's a loop cycle called OODA loop. It's an acronym, obviously, and I'll share it with you. Okay. It's an acronym. Observe. It's collecting and gathering available data and taking that information about the environment, about the condition, about the threat. The next one is orient, making the estimates, making your judgments on that situation to create that mental image of that situation, right? And decide, determine what needs to be done. Is it, you know, you ask questions like, is this immediate threat? Is it an immediate reaction? Is this a deliberate plan? You know, you gotta ask questions before you act, which is the next one. Putting all of that decisions that you have made, assumptions, judgments, all of this, right, into action. You know, the best example that I can give you, let me see if I can give you that, is really, who watches the movie Top Gun?
Seen it.
I can give you the best example is the scene from movie Top Gun, where during training with Maverick and Goose, remember that? Maverick failed to use the OODA loop, right? So in summary, is really, in summary, these two concepts originated by our military can be applied in our civilian environment, would you say? With the message that, hey, you know what? We all need to be cognizant of the surrounding environment, of our element, and to always stay vigilant to any potential dangers, right? I mean, especially these days now. I do give a lot of plenty of group sessions on this topic. I really love this topic. There's no one size fits all solutions, guys, in this. Circumstances, you know, situations change constantly. And it is very critical that you create contingency plans as well. Okay. But when push comes to shove, it will be your situational awareness that will have to help you identify the threat and find the best solution. Your situational awareness will be informed by what your senses that you're picking up, right? So if you're a business owner, I mean, I always recommend, hey, you know what, develop a task force team. You guys don't want to hear this because this is emergency preparedness 101 already. I always try to include this disaster preparedness or disaster recovery plan to business owners or business, you know, people when I talk. And I think more importantly, out of this plan is to train and simulate. I'm big in what if scenarios and simulate your and practice exercises and all of these things. You know, simulate regularly all of these things, the what if scenarios, and you know, with your employees, with your staff members, with your colleagues, with your family members, all of these things. And of course, you review this kind of plan, improve it, and adjust it accordingly, right? All right. So at home, what you can do with your family and loved ones, I want to piggyback what I said earlier, is to play and create a fun situational awareness game. How so? Walking or driving game, I'll call it. This whole thing makes you engage with your direct environment and surrounding. It will give you, you know, a better understanding. It's like, oh wow, I didn't think about that. Exactly. So simulate it, right? So walking, we can do this all day, right? Driving, we can do this all day too when we all stuck in traffic. Look on street, take visual check in our environment. Let's say we see that from that one guy in the corner. What shoes does he wear, right? What color shoes? What kind of shirts is he wearing? What pants? What color of hair? Which street name he was standing? You get my point, right? So you have the ability to give physical description of that particular individual, right? Same as driving game. What kind of car? What kind of license plate on that car next to your right, your left? You know, taking selfie. What kind of driver was he or she? This whole thing here helps you really tune in to your surrounding and not to tune out, obviously. You know, there's too many things, too many people that's tuning out. So you don't want to be those people. So I want to leave you with this. There's a great quote. There's a great quote by Jeff Cooper. I'm going to leave you with this. Safety is something that happens between your ears, not something that you hold in your hands. How many of you heard that? So my last thought on this, that we, you know, so many things out there. It's how we respond, really, how we react to a situation that will literally save our lives. You know, self-reliance is, to me personally, is really truly key to survival. And train. I said it before, we may not be 100% prepared. One of the slides states that at any given emergency situation, but you know, it doesn't hurt us to stay prepared and proper training, right? So we may reduce disaster risk. So really, this is all I have to say. I mean, during this disruption, impulse of our darkest moments out there, reflecting the impulse of ourselves. What boils down is really our personal safety in life, in this world that we live in. Danger is always out there. You know, it's part of human existence. Maybe we take this time, you know, during this disruption, during this COVID challenging times, to learn how to take care of ourselves, take care of each other in the shared whole space here that we call home, right? I think that's it for me, guys. I want to just say thanks for inviting me, and I'm sorry about the PowerPoint, you know, and some other things that I want to share with you all. I can certainly, you know, send you through Leonard.
Oops, you dropped again. Nikki?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
your
here.
audio went bye-bye again. You were saying you can share through me what?
We can certainly share, you know, these things.
A question was asked whether or not the video would be available for sharing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is all part of what I do, and really love to do that, obviously. I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar. How many of you, by the way, familiar with what I just presented, the color code of mental awareness? How many of you are familiar with that?
You see one hand.
See one hand? I can't see anybody. That's why.
Something.
Are you
What
talking
about
about situational awareness in general, or your specific take on it?
just in general?
Oh, yeah.
General, yeah.
The color code of mental awareness. I mean, I should say the color code of that level of awareness. The color code.
The color code, no. And actually, I do have a problem with the use of the term panic. That is a very specific thing. It is, it's been overused. It occurs in very limited circumstances in humans. Just simply taking the term fear and calling it panic every time, not coupled with inappropriate actions, just muddles things. So, you know, freezing, the comatose reference made sense in the sense that that's a symptom of panic. People do freeze. They don't act. But it gets used by the press way too much. People make assumptions that people will panic if, no, people will be fearful. Armed with information, they can turn that fear into constructive action. It's normal to be fearful.
Well, not if they're so scared that they're comatose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask, here's the thing. If somebody wants to ask questions, could you raise your hand on your, okay, there I see one hand up. Dave Brown, you wanted to ask a question, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Dare. So you mentioned early on, you mentioned primordial, and I think we inherently share like a primordial programming inherently built into us from day one as part of our genetic ancestry. Good example of that is I've always lived with a cat. Even when I was in college, I always had a cat. And they constantly do the friend or foe evaluation. You know, like we teach kids stranger danger. So I walk in wearing sneakers. The cat evaluates me. Okay, I'm a friend. I take off my sneakers. I come back around the corner in socks or bare feet. I have to be reevaluated because my characteristics have changed. And we've all got that, but I think we're deprogrammed as we go through school and society and everything like that. We lose a lot of that. And it's something that should be, you know, taught, maintained, practiced, learned. A good expression from one of my long-term martial arts instructors is that even though you may like to think you would rise to the occasion, that's usually just on TV. Usually what you do, particularly in a serious situation, is you will fall to your level of training. So, and by the way, I think everybody should consider, and you can probably do it for free, upgrade your modem router combination, whatever you use. Whoever your provider is, just call them up, get a new one. The new ones are typically always better. And hardwire to it. Say you're using your laptop to connect, just run an Ethernet cable to your modem so you don't have to put up with the vagaries of Wi-Fi. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Well,
Thank you.
with some of the new Wi-Fi, it's really wonderful. Do we have other questions? I'm looking for hands to be raised, if at all. Okay, let me put this in. Nicky, obviously one of the things that we look at here in this group is far off or unpredictable danger. I read an interesting article with regards to earthquakes and why it's so hard sometimes to get people to prepare. And the psychologist was saying, since it's an uncertain and infrequent event, one of the measures that humans use are just to ignore it because it's not frequent and it's not present. What thoughts do you have with your awareness of working with people to get through that defense mechanism of ignoring the danger, because it's easier to do that than think about what might happen in the future?
Well, if you're talking about physical contact, sort of, great question, by the way.
No, I'm talking about why worry? There's nothing we can do anyway, and it's not going to happen during my lifetime. So I won't get prepared for the 7.8 earthquake that's going to devastate Los Angeles. What are your thoughts with your situational awareness of convincing people to look at that which they can't see or feel or know when it's going to come, to continue to still have that in their mind?
I think we found a lot of people are feeling hopeless these days because of the COVID. And I think that's a valid statement what I just said. I mean, people are feeling hopeless. And it's the encouragement. First of all, it all depends on how he or she lives. I mean, he or she lives by himself, ignoring all of the reality out there, right? And how to convince the person is perhaps through support system. It's a great question because, for one, I've been in network community for a while, for a couple of decades now, and the last one that I want to mention to you and share with you is a group of people from around the world, and thinking the same way too. I mean, they're in a remote location geographically, and they think the same way. They said, okay, I really don't care. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, that's great. I can still move on, live another day. We should eradicate that mentality because it does happen. And for one, I think people have that fear in them as well, wanting to face, is this real or is this not? I mean, do you see what I'm trying to get into this? People are trying to paint the image like, is this beyond that? It's never going to happen to me. It's part of it's part of just being, no one's going to care for me. And who cares? I think that's what I think, right? Is that where you're going out with this question? Are they encouraging people support system? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, your idea of an isolated community is a good one. It's a good analogy, but it's the way people think. Okay, if you want to look at the awareness, after the '94 earthquake, there was a lot of preparation. People did things, and then the awareness dropped away. People didn't think about it. They left it alone. Last July 4th and July 5th, we had some real wake-up calls, and it's amazing. Around here, the stores that sold security or do sell survival equipment were suddenly inundated as everybody began to get things because the awareness was close by. And I'm trying to think of some way within situational awareness to convince people that this is earthquake country and that sometime there is going to be a problem that we have to solve for ourselves. And this is part of the idea of reaching out to communities that we call underserved and convincing them that there are ways that they can work with groups and nonprofits and such in their neighborhoods to become prepared. And it's a way to, I'm trying to figure what your thoughts would be on getting them focused on something that hasn't happened for months and months and months, and we don't know when it's going to happen again.
Well, I think for one, this is the best time right now to stay prepared if they haven't done so, to get their emergency items together within their home front, also their workplace if they are working remote or working, already going back to work. There is a home preparedness, very simple. Look up, look around, look down. Something that we all can relate right now that we're all staying home. Look up, what's going on in your home. Look up around your home, your closed space, your safe space, in your remote office, I call it in your COVID office. Look around in your house. Are there any bookcases that's falling down? Might be potentially falling down, might tipping over. Look down. I do have a video, but I cannot show it to you. Obviously, we tried to attempt to. Play a video earlier, but I can again share that video that I put. Is a 1-minute video on what I just stated: home preparedness. Look up, look around, look down. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but great questions. Thank you so much. I see Patrick's already on the screen, so my time is up probably.
No, hang on. I see Pierce. Pierce, you had a question. Your hand is up. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, Leonard, I just wanted to point out that how relevant situational awareness is to the mission of CERT. The whole idea of staying what Van Horn and Smith called left of bang. Before the event happens, how can we use OTA and others tools like that to observe and orient, and then decide what to do, and then take action. And a lot of that comes from rehearsing over and over again. If you're going to do personal situational awareness, you have to practice it every time you enter a new environment. You have to reorient yourself and see what a baseline is and what's an anomaly. And the same thing with CERT. We need to constantly or periodically and frequently train and get people through drills and get them to classes, introduce them to new ideas, and keep it closer to the top of their head so that they, by habit, address the situation in their neighborhood. For example, what's changed? Is a road blocked right now, and how would I have to change my evacuation plan because they're doing construction on this road?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm big in the what-if scenario simulation practices, exercises. I've delivered so many workshops, and I must admit, guys, I mean, I do not prefer monologue like this. I'd rather have analytical thinking, group sessions, and having group put together and then start thinking, okay, I'm going to assign you this scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3. How are you going to come up with solutions? How are you going to use your situational awareness to save your life? Because things are changing all the time, constantly, right? Piggyback what you just said, scan and observe. Those are the 2 things that we can practice today as we hang up and then, do this, scan and observe. Like I mentioned earlier, practice that within your home front. Practice that every day, simulate it. Great stuff. Thank you.
Okay, Nikki, thank you very much. Let me see if there's any more. Oh, yes. John Darnell, you're next. Go ahead, John. Unmute yourself.
Len, you got me on there?
Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for presenting. We appreciate it. We do have a lot of presenters that come on this 4th Saturday of the month, but we appreciate you taking your time out of your own time and coming out and teaching us a topic like this. It's very important. So thank you.
Okay, Bob Gelfand.
Yeah, hi, Nikki. When I saw the beginning slides and so on, I kind of assumed that we were talking about walking down the street and anticipating somebody trying to set us up for a mugging. Was that fundamentally correct, or are we talking about something else?
I'm glad you actually found it useful.
I'm asking, was that the fundamental point? Because being prepared in your own home for an earthquake is very different from walking down the street and being prepared in case somebody has a bad intent toward you. It hasn't happened to me very many times. Happened to me once, and I anticipated.
Yeah, it's a couple different aspects. Right,
a couple of guys were trying to set me up for a mugging, and I recognized the situation and got out of there. But I'm not sure what I would have done if somebody had pointed a pistol at me. And, you know, so situational awareness is one thing, but not quite sure what else to do about it.
But Bob, this is Pierre. I think it's the same skill set. It's just what threat are you assessing? Is it a mugger on a dark street, or is it an unknown event like an earthquake that may be coming? And what can I do to prepare myself before that happens? Can I avoid that dark street? Can I put together an under the bed kit for my earthquake? So it's the mindset of how do I observe and orient myself to the facts that I can collect? How do I make decisions, and how do I take actions and then go through that loop again?
Right, exactly.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Bob. And Ron Migdal was next.
Thanks. I just want to say, but to answer your question, Bob, it would depend on how close they are and how physically able to close the distance and overpower them. Nicky, where are you a range master?
I say that again.
Where are you a range master?
Oh yes, I'm in. You know, a couple of ranges that I train out here in San Francisco Canyon, a place to shoot, and also out here at the Angeles Shooting Range, ASR. Those are the two ranges that I teach private.
Gotcha. Thank you.
For personal, also for group.
Yeah, I told Nicky that I remember the days when you went into San Francisco Canyon, set your own targets up, and practiced on a Saturday morning. There were no rangers, but there were no people either. But that's going into ancient history. Somebody just had their hand up and then lowered their hand. Who was that? Okay.
Hey, Lynn, was that up in the Angeles where we all went up there and shot all over the place?
Yeah. Up San Francisco Canyon, and I'm not going to say when it was.
My combat shooting class actually used that area.
See it, Dave.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, your hand was up. It was lowered. Go ahead, Dave.
Both John Darnell and Nicky both spoke to it with respect to additional situations to be heightened awareness, and that's something every time we go somewhere driving, we actually put our life in peril. I always do, like an ambulance driver. As I approach an intersection, I look left, I look right, I look left, I look right. I'm looking for somebody passing traffic that has the red stoplight that may impact me as I traverse the intersection. Call it situational awareness, call it paranoia. It's not paranoia if it's true. I see it in front of me and behind me all the time. I drive by it. Situational awareness wise, I think that's one of the most immediate things we can implement is awareness in traffic. There's other drivers that are just out there. I forget, it might have been John that said, I keep checking to see if there's a stupid car chase coming up behind me. It can happen in a blink of an eye when you least expect it. You could have just finished a wonderful training. You can be on your way to another wonderful training, and some jerk runs a red light and broadsides you, and all that training effort goes down the drain. So it behooves us, I think, to up our game awareness-wise every time we are in traffic.
Okay. All right, I don't see any more hands raised. Nicky, thank you so much. And if you would like to email me the slides.
Leonard Lewis has his hand up.
You do?
Yes. I just wanted to mention that in my neighborhood council, some of the things I didn't hear mentioned were getting to know your neighbors. And also at our neighborhood council meetings, we have the policemen who generally policewomen and policemen who generally patrol our areas. They come in and they give us reports on what's going on. And also, where I used to work, there was a bulletin about different crimes that were occurring in the neighborhood and what to watch out for. So, getting reports from the neighborhood council and other organizations that you're associated with, and also getting to know your neighbors if possible, I think is something useful in preventing, and taking care of disaster if they should occur.
Okay. Actually, it must be somebody recognized you actually had your hand up rather than raised it on the screen. Okay, sorry about that. Very good. Let me take a quick look here. And I'm looking at the participant screen. I do not see any more hands raised on the participant screen. All right.
Oh,
Good.
Leonard, may I say something really quickly?
Go ahead, please, Nikki.
I want to point out to you guys some of the things that I do here personally in regards to preparedness at home. You know, those of you who know me, I'm not being paranoid, but I do this duct tape extra batteries to everything that I have that requires batteries, including this pen, what do you call this? Presentation pen or whatever you call it. Ask me why, right? From experiences, Murphy's Law, by the way. And I'm not kidding you. Right? Flashlights. All my flashlights, I have these. I'm not being paranoid, but this is something that we all should consider, you know, to have with our flashlights around the house, because Murphy will always show up no matter what. Okay, we have no control of that. So how many times that you try to turn on your flashlight during emergency or anything when the blackout or power out, and then you say, holy bleep bleep, bleep bleep, right? So guess what? Here you go. You're back up.
Mine are all
We have hand winding flashlights.
Yeah.
It's a great visual.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Thank you for
And
that.
I keep it in a place where I can find it in pitch black too, which is important.
Right, that too.
There you go.
Try a real power outage and you'll see what it's like.
Well,
mine are all rechargeable, and I have some that go on automatically at power failure.
Yeah, yeah. They now sell rather small, wonderfully bright LEDs that you can plug in. They're a nice night light with their red LED showing it's charging, and when the power goes away, the whole wall lights up where it is. But little things. All right, very good. Nikki, thank you so much, and I'll be in contact. I'll get those from you. And stick around. We may have some interesting things for you to hear, okay? Because Patrick, who's, he'll tell us which battalion command he's got for CERT. I can never remember, can't keep him straight. He has this, they are working on this, what's it called? Neighborhood team program. It's part of CERT, and it is online. I called Patrick because I see his Facebook posts with regards to these events. So I'm going to give it over to Patrick and let him talk to us about this. Patrick, you have a screen sharing privileges as a co-host. So have at it and talk to us about these team neighborhood team sessions you've been holding.
Thank you, Len, and thank you, Nikki. My name is Patrick. I am the Central Bureau Coordinator for the Community Emergency Response Team. Carolyn has stepped down. She felt it was time to retire, but we're not letting her go anywhere. And I see her on. So it's important to know the difference between a neighborhood team leader and a community team leader, and it's so critical to that response. And it seems to be where we're lacking in a lot of the programs that are out there, this lack of having these team leaders. And as I share my screen, one program that has actually existed since about 2010 is the neighborhood team program. And can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, there it is.
There we go. And so we're relaunching it because it kind of had a big start, and then it kind of faded out for a little bit. And a lot of the stuff I've been doing as the Battalion 2 coordinator, I've been building to the same point that the neighborhood team program was actually running at. And so a lot of the work I've done in Battalion 2, we're now going to shift over into the neighborhood team program. And we really want to take this citywide. As a Central Bureau Coordinator for CERT, I'm able to now have some of the more impact citywide than I've had as Battalion 2 Coordinator. So we all know that Southern California is vulnerable to almost every type of natural disaster. I think we can even have a volcano here. There's certainly been a movie about that. But the reality is that we haven't had a large regional disaster since 1938, and that was the Los Angeles flood. Northridge was actually a localized disaster. It hit Northridge, it hit parts of the valley, but other parts of the city weren't as impacted. The harbor, Northeast LA, they maybe lost power, but it wasn't a disaster for them. What we expect is the big one is going to be 10 times more powerful than Northridge. That's 7.8 earthquake or greater. And we're over 100 years overdue for that. The problem is that because we don't have these disasters, we don't have yearly seasonal disasters like the rest of the country does, is that when we do get something like an earthquake, like we had a couple weeks ago, the effective attention to that is about 48 hours, in my opinion. We see people are very frantic. They will clean out a Home Depot. They'll clean out water and toilet paper out of a supermarket. They will wipe out SOS survival products in the next 48 hours after the disaster, probably the same day of it or that earthquake. But then 2 days later, 72 hours later, they've already forgotten about it. And this is a massive problem. We have a very short time to get people to sign up for disaster preparedness classes. We have a very short window to get them into additional training and really capture their attention and grow it. So we have a question, why yet another program? And that's not really a valid question. There are so many disaster preparedness programs. CERT, Red Cross has something, DWP has something called Cool Blocks, EMD has something. There's all these different programs, but there's not really a cohesive, comprehensive plan of what to do. And some of these programs are actually conflicting with each other, or they take attention from the other. What the Neighborhood Team Program does is trying to combine the best aspects of the existing programs. And what I want to do moving forward is make this turnkey. I want to have step-by-step guides. I want to have a plan that's out there so that when people get involved and want to set up their neighborhood team, we have all the documentation ready to go and we make it very easy for them to start it. Additionally, it has to be easy to approach for the people who don't have time. If you're a single mother and you're working 2 jobs and you have 3 kids, you can't take a 17.5-hour class. So it has to be easy for someone at that level to get in, or we lose them. So what we're doing with the Neighborhood Team Program, and again, this has been in existence from since 2010, is we're combining CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team, which is taught by LAFD. We're combining the EMD program, which is Ready Your LA Neighborhood, or RYLAN, and we're combining Neighborhood Watch from LAPD. For those that don't know, the Community Emergency Response Team was created here in LA City in 1986. It's taught by the LA City Fire Department. LAFD firefighters actually teach the 17.5-hour class. It runs for 7 weeks, 2 hours a night, 1 night a week, or day, depending on when you take the class. And so it is a massive commitment to take this training, but it is comprehensive. You learn a whole lot. You learn about team organization, team safety. You learn about light search and rescue. You learn about basic first aid, and you get the hands-on of this as well. And then you learn how to use a fire extinguisher. A lot of people think that they have a fire extinguisher there and it's there to use, but they've never actually handled one. They've never actually gone through the process of deploying it. Then is not the time when your house is on fire or you have a kitchen fire to try and figure out how to use it. And so this is a core skill that we teach in CERT, or the fire department teaches in CERT.
Hey, Patrick, can I ask you a question?
Yes, Ron.
The 3 entities that you've combined, is that just in the Central Bureau or is that throughout LA?
This is LA-wide, LA City-wide.
Thank you.
So we move on to MD's program, which is Ready Your LA Neighborhood. And this is a 2-hour class taught by LA City EMD. It's based on Map Your Neighborhood. and it gives you 9 easy steps that you can follow right after an earthquake. But it relies on CERT to handle the larger problems. So these two programs kind of really marry together very nicely because it gives something easy for your neighbors to do and get them involved, but encourages them to take the additional training that CERT offers. And sometimes what we see is we get someone into this 2-hour class and they realize they have that light bulb moment where they realize that they are not prepared and they need that more training. And so now, just by introducing them to Ryland, we get them interested in larger program and better training, more training, comprehensive training. Neighborhood Watch has actually been in existence for a very long time, I think since the 70s. And these are generally neighborhood-focused groups in each community that meet regularly. They meet with their LAPD senior lead officers, and they're keeping extra eyes and ears on the community.
Losing you there.
Patrick, something's wrong with your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So some of these groups even use two-way radios, and that two-way radio communication is something that CERT and even Map Your Neighborhood teach. Not officially, it's not in their official documentation, but our implementation, certainly for LA City, has to use those two-way radios. And so we see this as a good group to get involved with because they're already community focused, and there's no reason that Neighborhood Watch members should not be Ryland and CERT trained. Plus, meeting with the senior lead officers ties them in with the city in an additional way. As I mentioned, the Neighborhood Team Program was created in 2010. It was actually created by a LA City CERT battalion coordinator, Larry Bogatz. And he started this pilot program focusing on creating organized neighborhood teams in South LA. The pilot program created 12 organized teams and had support from 5 neighborhood councils, even had funding from 2 of them. It was then added into the if you actually look at the LA City CERT manual, you'll see I think it's page 10, it says what's next, and that is go create your own neighborhood team, and references the neighborhood team program, gives the website. And so it really is already integrated into the system. We've just kind of not been doing it lately. And so that's why I'm presenting here. This is why I want to bring attention to this program and really relaunch it. So the question is, what are neighborhood teams? And in my opinion, they're actually the core to a response at the community level. Without an organized team, without something that can group together and start doing good, you just have random people with various level of training. But these neighborhood teams have to be grassroots in origin. The city, EMD, LAFD, they don't have time, they don't have to handle a city of 4 million people, the resources to build these teams. It has to be you and your neighbors saying, hey, we need to do something. We need to organize, we need to create this. It really is neighbors helping neighbors. And to help them and support them, we as CERT coordinators will stand by you when you want to set up a team. We'll guide you. We'll give you documentation. We'll help you train. We'll help you build drills and plan for all this. But we really need the members, these teams to originate at the grassroots level. It has to be someone at the block, someone who's either taken the CERT training or just said, hey, we just had an earthquake and I know we're not prepared. What do we do? What is the next step? So we've created these step-by-step guides. I've done them for Battalion 2. They apply citywide, and we'll be pushing them out. What was important to me is that these are short, easy to read. They're 2 to 4 pages long. Nobody wants to have a 50, 60, 500-page book that they have to read through on how to get prepared. No one has the time or energy to do that. But additionally, these need to be standardized across the city. If everyone's doing the same thing, then we can cross-train. We know, however, different parts of the city are different. Northeast LA has very hilly areas. Mount Washington is dramatically different than somewhere in South Bureau, which is generally flat and grid aligned. So we do need to customize these step-by-step guides to each neighborhood. It's not as simple as just saying, here's what you're going to do. Now we have to sit down and say, use this guideline and tweak it to how we need it to function so it actually works. Additionally, these guides are written for both CERT and non-CERT trained members. A lot of the concern about the CERT program has been the focus on CERT training and getting those people through the class and then saying, okay, what we're going to do with the people who have committed to this, now we're going to build off their skills. That doesn't work. We need to hit the people who don't have the time to take that 17.5-hour class and make them effective. And that's why Ryland is a good partner for CERT, because that's where their attention is. These step-by-step guides focus on team organization, using two-way radios to communicate, and disaster medical response. Because we know right after an earthquake, the fire department's not going to be available to handle medical. It's going to be your neighbors who are going to be attending to the minor injury, scrapes, scratches, cuts, banged up injuries. If we can attend to them within the first couple of hours after you've gotten that injury, we save you from getting infected and having to go to the hospital later. Additionally, we're putting on regular training now. Because of COVID, we've taken our training online. I am personally doing monthly trainings on different subjects. And we've put these up on our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is less than 30 days old by a couple days right now. So as soon as we hit that 30-day mark, we'll actually get a permanent URL that was going to be a lot easier to tell people about than that link that's currently on the screen. But we have over 300 subscribers already. We have the last 3 trainings I've done up online, and we're going to be bringing in additional CERT coordinators from all around the city to do their trainings, record them, and put them online so that people can constantly reference them. The topics are going to, and necessity-wise, they have to be focused at different levels. We have to have beginner topics, intermediate topics, and advanced topics. The beginner topics are constant. As we get more people in, they need to know the basics. But you can't just keep reviewing the basics. You need to be able to grow your skills, grow with additional training, so that intermediate and advanced topics need to be present as well. Otherwise, you lose people. And again, we're going to be focusing on team leadership and team organization, two-way radio communication, disaster medical, and then, of course, those step-by-step guides. We're going to want to review them because, yeah, you have a 2-page document on what to do, but that needs a little bit of help. For some people, it's going to be easy enough. I'm going to read this document. I know exactly what I'm going to do. Other people are going to have to be expanded upon and go over each step in a little bit more detail to learn, because everybody learns differently. One of the key concepts is the idea of the CERT staging area. Where do people go who are CERT trained? Where do people who are Map Your Neighborhood or Ryland go and organize? And this is kind of where we've really fallen through after the CERT basic training the fire department does, is no one is identifying these CERT staging areas and building them. So part of the neighborhood team program is to work with the team leaders, the people in the block level who say, I want to do something, and identify where is the CERT staging area in your community, in your neighborhood? Who owns this property? How do we set up an agreement with them so that we can have CERT members show up right after an earthquake and start building something, building a response that is. Additionally, what we have identified is the first CERT staging area kit. Regardless of when you arrive, you may or may not have everything that you need. And so if we can have the basics there, a little shed with maps, forms, clipboards, predefined damage assessment routes, everything that they need to get going in that first couple of hours. Additionally, we have through a 501c3 licensed commercial radios that we can deploy at these staging areas that are good throughout the city. And we've been doing this in Battalion 2, and it cuts through a lot of the problems we have with FRS or HAM, having to have someone with the license to use a radio, or having a radio system that is overwhelmed by the sheer amount of people who have these radios. The fact that businesses use them, the fact that kids are using them and constantly on them. We've had these problems, and it's going to vary again neighborhood to neighborhood, but the commercial radios allow us to have something that is citywide for interoperability and cuts through a lot of this complication. Additionally, we know we're going to be doing medical. We know we're going to be bandaging injuries. And so we're going to burn through our personal supplies very quickly. Having that resupply of the dry stuff, the bandages, the dressings, the triangular bandages, those are going to help us resupply and be able to keep doing good until the professionals arrive. The next step is, and this was mentioned earlier, we have to keep training. It's not good enough to say, here's the plan. It's, we need to do the plan, we need to teach everybody the plan, and then we need to test the plan. And that's where drills and exercises come in. We've done this a couple times in Mount Washington. I know South Bureau's done a couple drills. We're planning some stuff in the Valley right now. And that's really, here's the plan. We're gonna train on the plan. Now we're gonna execute the plan before we have to, before the earthquake, before whatever disaster occurs. We need to know that the plan works. We need to know that people can follow the plan, and we need to know where we need to do additional training to fix those gaps. And we're going to be providing the step-by-step guides to the teams. We're going to help them set up that CERT staging area, and then they're going to deploy out, do the damage assessment, and communicate back to the staging area using radios. At the block level with Ryland, that goes hand in hand. Ryland really focuses on your golden hour, that first hour after the disaster. You're doing the damage assessment at the block level. You're finding out how bad things are. And then when the CERT damage assessment team shows up, you hand them over a clipboard and says, here's the instance that we have that we need help with. We can't handle this by ourselves. We need the additional support. And it saves time for the damage assessment team. And additionally, there's going to be a lot of neighborhoods that are less affected by the earthquake than others. And so those Ryland members become convergent volunteers for that CERT response. If you have a CERT trained member, they can work with a couple convergent volunteers, non-CERT trained people, as part of their team to build that response. One of the major pitfalls that we've encountered, and it's recurring, it's constant, is we don't have good communication. When somebody graduates from a CERT class, if we're not there personally to ask them for their information, we lose them. And this is because the city has said the rosters for the CERT classes are city property. They are not legally able to give them to volunteers. As CERT coordinators, we are volunteers for the city and the fire department. And so we need to personally be there and ask people to sign up on our list. If we miss a CERT class, we lose that entire class. And so what we're working on, and this is still in a beta phase, unofficially launched, is a single place for CERT graduates to go sign up so they can be contacted by their CERT coordinators. And that is the certvolunteer.com website. We're still working on logistics with this, making sure that we have everything agreed upon. Right now we're focusing, since I'm the one spearheading this, I'm the Central Bureau coordinator. This is official in Central Bureau, but this is something we want to do citywide. So regardless of where you are, there's one place to go to sign up and get in contact with your CERT coordinator. Additionally, there's going to be privacy concerns. We were going to make it we're going to make sure that this information stays private so that you're not getting advertising, and the city's also aware that we're not going to be sharing it with them either. So the next step is, where do you go to find out about your neighborhood team? Again, this website is already published in the LAFD CERT manual at ntp-la.com. And for more information, you can email info@ntp-la.com. Currently, it goes to Chin and myself. Chin is the South Bureau coordinator, and myself is Central Bureau coordinator. But we want to get people starting to sign up with this, and we'll have a additional separate sign up for people who want to be a neighborhood team leader, want to start a neighborhood team program in their neighborhood. And that way we don't have to get emails from them. They just sign up a form, submit their information, and then we reach out to them, or their bureau coordinator or their CERT battalion coordinator will reach out and start the process of getting us going. So, any questions?
Okay, do you know how to raise your hand? Okay, there we go. Christine, go ahead.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Patrick. Great presentation. Yes, I'm familiar with Chinon, and I'm over here in Westside Village. Do you also have a Facebook group that everyone can stay in touch and communicate through that?
Yes, if you search for Neighborhood Team Program Los Angeles, we just
Neighborhood Team Los Angeles. Okay.
Neighborhood Team Program.
Okay. Thank you.
Robert, go ahead.
That me?
No, the other Robert, Robert Brostow.
Different Robert, okay.
Robert Brostow, you there?
I'm
His
here.
his
Hi,
hand
Don.
was up.
Patrick, do you know if EMD has created an online version of Ryland training yet?
They are out to contract on it. I spoke with our Central Bureau EMD rep yesterday.
Yeah. Aram told me, as I said, you may have been here at the beginning. I spoke to Aram the other day, along with Carol Park, and they expect it to be online in March. They put the RFP out. They've got the responses. They have something right now that you can look at. It's recordings, but they'll have a formal online training in March.
Thank you.
Bob Gelfand.
Yeah, Patrick, I guess you are a coordinator, CERT person.
Yes.
How
The CERT
many
Central Bureau
such,
Coordinator.
I'm sorry?
The CERT Central Bureau Coordinator.
Okay, how many people with your level of training are there in the city of LA?
I'm not sure what level of training are you speaking towards?
Capable of leading a neighborhood? What level of training do you need, and how many are there?
There's
I'm figuring about 4,000 would be the number of neighborhoods.
there's
Divide
certainly not enough people who have the training, and that's why we're pushing on teaching people, getting people up to speed. But we don't want to say you need to have the training first. We want people to be interested in doing this, and then we'll train them up and get them ready.
Okay, well, this is kind of a breath of fresh air, and again, I'd like to invite you to our next committee meeting at our local neighborhood council, because Pam Gom and her friends, Chris and Furir, we're trying to set up something very much along those lines, but without this level of expertise that you're bringing. So have we got your contact information? Somebody asked for it.
Yes,
You
I
can
put it in the
on, is it on chat somewhere?
If not, it's going to be.
I have already put it in the chat, and Chin has put his email address in the chat as well.
Great, thanks.
Okay, Paul, go ahead.
Hi, Patrick. This looks fantastic. And I wanted to mention something that Len may know more about than me, but the city was coming to us talking about doing these emergency job boxes and trying to figure out where to put them, kind of like the shed you were talking about. Len, do you know where we're at with that? I think that's what Patrick was talking about too, emergency supplies. And the neighborhood councils were going to do funding to try to pay for those boxes. And so there's a whole coordination. I think it fits into this concept really well, which looks fantastic. Great job.
That is kind of stalled out as as proposed things before the city council do. I did not have the opportunity to ask Bob Blumenfield about it when we were on last night, but it's easy enough. I'll check on that with one of his deputies. I'll make a note and check with Jeff and see what's going on. Yeah. The fire department, LAFD, has deployed at least one in each city council district, and they're at fire stations. So LAFD's bins are out there. Bob's thing was to have one CD that does it to see how it works. Obviously, it was his CD3, but nothing has happened as yet. Thank you for the reminder. I'll ask you.
And the difference between these kits and the staging area kits are the staging area kits are very short term. There's not much in them. So if they get broken into, we don't have to have a big concern about loss of, huge amount of money. But it's really that 2-hour window, getting that CERT going, get them with their local information. Again, you're going to have the map of the local area, predefined damage assessment routes, clipboards with all the forms that they need to go. So it's really just grab and go. And if they've gone through the basic training, they know what they're looking at. And so it's very turnkey, very easy. The most expensive part is really going to be those radios, and they're not that expensive. We're not talking about Motorola's. Make it so that, yes, we don't want them broken into, but we also don't want thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment in there either.
Is this funding for this would come from the neighborhood councils or from a CERT grant, or how are you envisioning the funding for these boxes?
This is all grassroots. So this is going to have to be the community, the neighborhood councils, if we can get private grants or something like that. But that funding is going to have to come from, ideally, the neighborhood councils. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, if they've got a
From the
nonprofit.
city council members slush funds,
Okay.
whatever they call them.
If there is a nonprofit, NPGs will work. So.
We have a nonprofit.
Okay, let me continue on. Keith, you had a question?
Yes, this is very good. Glad to hear it. And glad that it's going to go citywide. What is the definition of the size of a neighborhood that this neighborhood team leader will be handling? I know Ryland, it's essentially a block or a building. And how is the connection made if we're trying to do community-wide, like, for example, for Venice as a community, would it have several neighborhoods within it and then coordinated together? Is that part of the process, or is that something that needs to be developed?
That's a good point, and this confuses people a lot. The way I see it is LA City is made up of a lot of communities. Mount Washington, my expertise is Northeast LA because that's where I live, so I keep referring back to it. Mount Washington is made up of multiple neighborhoods. Highland Park is made up of multiple neighborhoods. So yes, when you're talking about the delineation, it is community and neighborhood. And then from neighborhood, you go down to the block level. The neighborhoods are going to be, I think Nextdoor is a great resource for identifying your neighborhood and community because they're really self-defined in Nextdoor. And so it's going to vary. When we're talking about the CERT staging areas, it's geographic based. If you're on the top of a mountain in Mount Washington, you're not going to be talking to the people at the bottom of that mountain. And so then you're going to need two different CERT staging areas. If your only places for a CERT staging area are at the very edge of your neighborhood, and your neighborhood is a couple miles wide, you're going to actually probably need two CERT staging areas. So everything is based upon the localized information. So it's very hard to judge.
So again, looking at my community, we have pre-existing neighborhoods identified, which we could work from that, and then they would work with the blocks at the Ryland level. And then what we would need is a tie-in, a coordination center, communication and coordination center to bring all those neighborhoods together and then pass that information between them and also up to the city.
Yes. Ideally, we have identified the CERT staging area in each of your neighborhoods, or possibly two, depending on the size of the neighborhood and the location of the staging area. Those CERT staging areas should be talking to each other. Those CERT staging areas then should be talking up to a battalion level command for CERT. One thing I didn't mention, we're actually planning a citywide CERT staging area drill on the Great Shakeout. It'll be in the evening so that people who work can actually do something and practice with this. But that communication is going to get tested, where we're going to have damage assessment teams leave the CERT staging area. They're going to be reporting incidents into the CERT staging area. And then those CERT staging areas are going to be talking to each other and to a command level team and reporting incidents up. I'm not talking about somebody got a scratch or there's power lines down. I'm talking about a bus flipped over and we have 30 people who are severely injured. We need the fire department here.
Okay.
So we're additional eyes and ears for the fire department at that ground level. And
Okay.
that's, I see it working.
Yeah, this is really excellent. We
Okay.
definitely want to follow up with you on this because this fits one of the goals in our strategic plan, which is to develop this community. And it's very similar to what I know Topanga has done with LA County Fire and Sheriff and Emergency Management. So
Keith, we've got one more
definitely
question.
want to talk to you later about this.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Conrad, your turn. Last question. Oops, no, somebody else.
Hi, everybody. I am at the cusp of holding our very first LAPD Wilshire Community Police Advisory Board Emergency Preparedness Committee meeting. Patrick, you spoke about how Ryland and CERT are converging around the neighborhood team model and how LAPD's Neighborhood Watch program, which I didn't actually know was sort of coming from LAPD, but anyway, what do I need to know about sort of coordinating within that same model as I get that committee going, noting that Chief Moore back in April of 2019 basically instructed all CPABs to have an emergency preparedness committee. It seems like some coordination is needed now.
Yeah, we're working, Chin is reaching out to LAPD and his SLOs. Northeast LA doesn't have as many neighborhood watch programs as South Bureau does. So we're working at the top level to get all the people talking, all the major players, so that we have an agreement and then we'll build those step-by-step guides and SOPs for everybody.
So can I recommend that you, well, let me just let you know that on a quarterly basis right now, each bureau, which doesn't match the LAFD bureau structure exactly, but each LAPD bureau has a meeting of its co-chairs, its CPAB co-chairs. So that would be 4 meetings maybe where you guys should try and get in, make a brief presentation and get some buy-in. Because I have a sense that the coordination isn't really there right now. And this is separate from Neighborhood Watch. This is about committees within CPAB. Thanks.
Yeah, we definitely like
Patrick, can I kind of jump in on that very quickly? Chin Thomas Sanksy, CERT South Bureau. Conrad, I've already spoken with Mitch Jacobus, and we're going to be coming your way with some coordination on that.
Okay, very good. We've got one more question. Susan, go ahead.
Yes, thanks. Thanks, Patrick. This is really a good session. I just have one question about the two-way radios. Would it be helpful for everyone to have the same brand?
The commercial radios are going to be issued, so they will be the same brand. They will be locked down. We're not telling people what the channels are, what the PL tones are, because we don't want ham radio operators programming in. But it standardizes everything versus FRS radios, which you could buy a $10 FRS radio and it will kind of sort of work. And maybe you can probably communicate with the $50 FRS radio, but when you get a certain range out, you'll hear the $50 FRS radio, but the $50 FRS radio won't hear the $10 FRS radio. And so that's what we're trying to avoid and standardize on those, yes. But we wouldn't want you to go buy it yourself. We want it coordinated through the 501c3 because they are the license holder.
Okay. Patrick, thank you very much. Very much. Good presentation. And I've saved a copy of that presentation, so we do have it. And I'll keep that with Nicky's. We've got one more. I'm going to ask Dave Brown, could you give us a brief update with regards to the disaster fair? Anything we should...
Hi, Lars. Obviously, it's gone online. The date will be Saturday, October 10th, 10/10/2020, and it's currently scheduled to run from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be 3 simultaneous streams, one primary of which will be the featured guest speakers, of which we are very lucky. Had it not been for the pandemic, we possibly would not have had some of the outstanding choices we were able to obtain. But that'll be stream 1. Stream 2 exhibitors of emergency preparedness equipment demonstrating their products, debuting new products, showing off tried and true products. So that consider Stream 2 the exhibit hall, if you will. And Stream 3, we're thinking the practical, abbreviated practical trainings. For those that have never seen it, they can witness a sidewalk CPR demonstration. We're trying to figure out how to make some of that interactive to the extent that it can be online. So that's the three primary items. Some of this, the entire production of the event was delayed somewhat, of course, because of the untimely demise of our fearless leader, Bill Hopkins. However, we've hit the ground running. There are no significant roadblocks to having what we hope to be a very successful event. And the beauty of online is our outreach capacity. Normally, lately, every year the physical attendance goes up. Last year we hit 7,000 attendees spread throughout the hours of the event. We really don't know what to expect online. We try to look at other people's online events and gauge what we might expect and anticipate. But what we're doing is pre-configuring the server capacity to enable multiple factors of attendance. In other words, if we hit 10, 12, 15,000 attendees, that's absolutely wonderful, but we don't want to crash and freeze the whole thing. And we don't want to try to call somebody at the last minute and say, hey, we need to up our capacity. So we're going to pre-deposit, as it were, supplemental capacity that with a click of a mouse, we can bring that capacity online and have it at the ready, as opposed to trying to pull it together at the last minute based upon need. Call that plan ahead, if you will. Final item is the traditional kits, the family preparedness, emergency preparedness starter kits. Obviously, that can't happen under the COVID scenario regulations, restrictions. However, we do feel that that's a very valuable aspect. We're still working on our budgets. And the online presentation taking priority, of course. Any and all kits to be distributed will happen post-event. And what we're thinking, online registration, by the way, is already active at valleydisasterfair.com. Okay, valleydisasterfair.com, go register, you'll get a confirmation email. That will also be the entry day of event. And that entry will be open prior to the official start time. Okay, so kit-wise, we're thinking an abbreviated kit format that orients more towards brush fire, not a myopic focus on earthquake. We're orienting more towards ongoing chronic brush fires and having to do with basically being downwind of a brush fire. Okay. Points of distribution, we anticipate being neighbor councils wanting to do so. We will load them up with cases of whatever the kit turns out to be for them to distribute, as well as council district offices. Again, they can figure out how to distribute them. And we may have, again, depends on budget number 3, if you will, a version that can be mailed to folks. There may be folks that just simply physically can't go somewhere to get one, don't want to. It just doesn't work for them to get a kit through the first 2 means of distribution. So we're going to do our darndest, basically price-wise, to enable a mailable kit, which has some physical size constraints so it doesn't become ridiculously expensive. But in all cases, we intend to load up with masks. We're trying to figure out some way of having goggles, not the traditional goggles we normally incorporate, but something that seals better to the eyes, so you can be in the smoke to a certain extent, and not that you should be. I mean, you should have already been out of there by then, but nonetheless, people are people. So if we can figure some appropriate goggles that we can incorporate, we'd really like to do that as well. That's the highlights. I may have forgotten some, but if anybody's got any quick questions, I'm happy to answer anything I'm able to.
Yeah, Dave, can I share one thing with you?
Sure, go ahead.
what I think we're going to do for our fair is after the fair is over, people who can show proof of registration, we're going to do a curbside pickup for the bags.
Well, you know what? And we can get together with you as well. We can either deliver to you, or you can come to our primary distribution point, you know, designate somebody to come make a pickup. You know, if you're willing to do so, we'd be glad to, because it's like, you know, information on a shelf does nobody any good if it's on the shelf. We need to get this stuff into the hands of people. And again, the kit, people like the kit because it's got stuff in it. And that stuff is a lost leader for the information that we put, the literature that we hope people will read. That's the best value in that kit. But we incorporate stuff so people really want the kit.
Okay. Do you know what platform you're using for it?
Okay, we got 2 questions up here.
Sorry, do you know what platform you're using to present here?
I think that has been decided, but I'm not on top of that at the moment.
Okay,
but I can find out and let you know easy enough.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Dave. This
Paul?
is Eric.
Hang on. I'm looking at Paul. You got your hand up. Paul, you're not unmuted.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for keeping this going. This is a great fair. We really appreciate it. I was just curious, are you going to allow the vendors to sell this year? And maybe you can get some income by having their links kind of available to people, because I think it'd be easy for them to order as they see the thing being shown, which is good for everybody. So I just wanted to see, because I know normally you don't allow the vendors to sell. So I was wondering if you could handle that this year.
Paul, in an online environment, there's no way we can stop them from selling. However, you know, we are asking them not to make it a blatant late night 800 number TV sales infomercial type thing. We want to continue to be able to say that everything about the disaster fair is free, both to the attendees and the exhibitors. The exhibitors are present at no charge to themselves. We facilitate and go out of our way, bend over backwards to make it easy for them to do so. As a result, every exhibitor really, really, really likes to be with us, likes to join us on our event. They don't have to pay anything. We'll, you know, if they can't, their canopy broke last week, we'll give them a canopy, you know, whatever it takes. And as a result, we get all the, you know, the A-team exhibitors and demonstrations and it says my internet connection is unstable because I'm using my Wi-Fi and I didn't use a Ethernet cable like I suggested earlier.
Fine, we can hear and see you.
Yeah, we're fine. I was just looking at it as a potential way for a little funding. But you're right, the vision is great.
Okay.
So,
well, we have spent many hours passionately discussing that because there was a point where our budget was horribly insufficient. We've worked really hard at raising funds. We have the potential of some larger contributors. We're really going to try to do anything and everything to avoid, so we can continue to say that it's absolutely 100% free to everybody. We like that. It's been from day one. And it's been very difficult to maintain that, of course.
Are you able, do you have the budget you need this year to do it? Are you?
We're able to do the event itself. And as we continue to raise funds, which never stops basically, the budget will determine the kits and the kits are determined by the budget. So that's the financial point we're at the moment.
I'm asking because you've asked our neighborhood council and probably all of them for funding, and I just wanted to see where you're at. So thank you for, again, this is fantastic.
Oh yeah, well, funding neighbor council-wise, we typically traditionally solicit the Valley and a couple of others. They have EP committees and things like that that can transfer the information more readily to their neighbor councils. We even went to one on a fluke one time. You'll get a kick out of this. Before there were 99 neighborhood councils, Zapata King was the last neighborhood council on the list. So we just contacted them and say, hey, can we come talk to you about emergency preparedness? Well, nobody ever had before, of course. And we invited them to the fair. It was actually, they were all excited. Nobody ever went and talked to them about anything. And at the meeting that they were going to, vote and approve everything, they met in a little library across the street from a recycling center, and the recycling center caught fire, and the library was downwind, so we had to evacuate. And so the meeting obviously concluded before anything happened, and then they never got back around to it.
Okay. We have one
Thank you.
last.
One
Conrad.
question. Hey, Dave, this is Eric from Penny
Hang
Lane.
on, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah, I'm using my wife's PC. But anyways, question
Eric?
for you. Bill Hopkins was, a week before he passed away, I talked to him, and he was looking for a coordinator. Are you going to be the one in charge of the whole thing now?
No one person can be in charge of it. And even when Bill was in charge of it, tip of the iceberg or top of the totem pole or top rung of the ladder, however you want to describe that, even then, there was a lot of shoulders lifting on that thing. No, this is definitely not a one-person coordination type thing. We need multiple people. And we've kind of subdivided it into categories, the online component, the kit component, the literature component, the financial component. So there's like 6 or 7 supportive subcategories. But yeah, a general coordination, big picture on top coordination, that is most desirable and welcome. And I know you specialize in that. So yeah, if you have the slightest interest, and every time I send you an email, it keeps getting bounced back.
Okay, we'll try to work on that for us.
I'm going to ask that if you want to ask questions or speak, and you're on the Zoom platform, please raise your hand so that I can see it, and you'll be called on in order. And if you're on the phone, please do a *9 so that you'll come up, and we'll see it there. That way we can coordinate who speaks when. Conrad, you have your hand raised.
All right. So I'm just, Dave, you were talking a little bit about kit and goggles. So I thought I'd just share with this group in a show and tell sort of way that I did get an O2 mask from O2 Industries in Canada that does have the nice silicone seal here. So you can even have a little stubble, and it breaks apart, and it has a little filter insert that filters down to 0.1 microns according to their studies. It's developed in part with in partnership with the University of Waterloo. I don't know if it's really working, but I can attest to the fact that the seal is really good and it's more comfortable. It did take 6 weeks to arrive. That's all.
6 weeks. Well, thank you all. Hang on to my my other ones. Well, very good, very good. I don't see any more raised hands. I think we're a little bit over time. However, we didn't have a mass, what's this called? We didn't have everybody leaving. There we go.
Exodus.
And wait a minute. Oh no, Keith isn't raising his hand. He's just there. At least I'm presuming that's just him in front of his camera. All right, everybody. I want to thank our presenters today. It was very good. Next month, as I said, we will not be meeting because the Congress is meeting on the fourth Saturday. We will be back in October. I expect the mayor will be here as our primary speaker. If he is, I will be sending out an email. The format is, if you have questions of the mayor, send them to me. That's the way they'll work. I will then submit them to a coordinator, and they will narrow them down to a number of questions that he will address. So that's how it'll work. Otherwise, we'll just have to get some other speakers other than the mayor and participate as we do. I want everybody to have a good rest of the weekend. I want everybody to stay safe, stay healthy. And once I get some more ideas with regards to coordinating with some of our underserved communities, I will let you know. And if anybody out there has ideas on who to contact, how to contact, please let me know. I know Capri Maddox, who I communicated with, and she said if I wanted to reach certain areas, she would have sent me to the churches. However, during this particular pandemic, that's not possible. So other ideas people may have will be welcome. And I'll be happy to get them and see what we can coordinate.
Can I make an announcement, Lynn?
You want to make a quick announcement of your...
Yeah, to let people know that the public safety chairperson's meeting is Monday night. Just a reminder. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
What time Monday night?
7.
7, okay.
And is there a link someplace, Ron?
I've been sending it via email. If
Your public safety committee.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Not the leaders.
Not the citywide preparedness.
It's the Public Safety Chairpersons Alliance meeting.
Okay, it's the Safety Committee Chair Alliance. Okay.
Glenn,
Very
Glenn
good.
has his hand up.
Who does?
Glenn.
Let me take a look. Thank you. I've gotten off of it. Okay, Glenn Bailey for a last comment. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, this is Glenn Bailey. Two things. There is a team, Valley Disaster Preparedness team that meets every other month virtually to help work out the various tasks. But the announcement I just wanted to make is regarding the Congress of Neighborhoods on September 26th. Don't be totally surprised if one of the networking sessions turns out to be disaster preparedness, emergency preparedness, in which case, Len, that would be great if you could push that out. It may draw other people that normally participate in this session or some of the others because of the citywide effort. So it's being debated actually this afternoon, possibly, and then I don't know at what point the final decision will be made as to how many of the networking sessions that there will be and what the topics will be. But I just know that of the suggested ones that, emergency preparedness was one of them. So hopefully I'll be going to the Congress anyway, but just watch for that in the list of networking sessions.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And with that, is there somebody wanting to make a comment?
Yes, this is Carolyn. I just want to tell Dave Brown, the other day my power went out in my apartment, and my emergency cooling system was the fan that I received in a bag from the Valley Preparedness Fair. It worked quite well. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for that. It came in really handy. That's all. Very good session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lenny.
Okay, everybody.
Thanks, Len. Yeah.
As I say, good weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you. We'll see you next month at the Congress, I hope. And if not, we'll see you in October here once again online. And I think this may be the way we're going to be meeting for a while longer. So, but it's good. It's good to be able to see everybody. So, everybody have a nice, safe weekend. Okay.
Thanks, Len. Great job.
I'm going to stop recording. And
Thanks, Len. Thank you, everyone. It's great to keep in touch.
It is.